disappointed you, you didn't quit because you knew the mission was so much bigger than yourself. So I need for you to celebrate one another.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of this flight crew and Southwest Airlines, we'd like to welcome you to Nashville. You may use those cell phones at this time, but please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened and keep all carry-ons down.
Man, we've had so much going on. We've had workshops and book signings, and today we are taking the main stage. So hopefully I don't trip on these nice shoes I have on. Yeah, but I'm excited. You know, you can't focus on yourself. You have to focus on the Holy Spirit, you know, and what He's put on your heart. He's a voice. He's speaking. You have to let Him speak. If you make it about yourself, you mess up. Every time you have to focus on God's Spirit, because it's not about you. It's about those hungry leaders out there who He loves, who He wants to feed. And you just have to be that willing vessel, you know? So, yeah, that is what we are doing today. This week has been absolutely crazy. Just overwhelming in the most amazing way. I mean, you get to see people who, in a weird way, you've become friends with on social media. I mean, these are people that you have prayed for, you know, labored, you know, for in tears, and you get to see them in person and touch them and feel them and hug them, and it's incredible. The testimonies you get from people about the work that you have sweated over and the impact that it has had in their life is absolutely ridiculous and overwhelming, and you cry off your makeup 40,000 times. And that is, I mean, in a nutshell, that is the experience. It is one of the most overwhelming experiences that feeds your soul like nobody's business. So, yes. All right, I am so excited. Let me add my friend up in here in this stream.
What's up, Esther? How are you? I love that video.
Oh my goodness.
I forgot about that video.
I know, if you have just watched this video, oh my goodness, Kids Matter MegaCon is coming up. And I am super excited, okay, because I have, should I call you like the honorable or like?
Oh no, that dumber than a box of rocks, Frank. 49 days and we're going to be together at MegaCon.
Esther. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe it. It is crazy. It is like one of the premier events in the Moreno household across the country. I'm so excited that you all are here. As you guys are coming in, let us know where you are from. I have my dear friend Ryan Frank, CEO and founder of Kids Matter, here with us this evening to shower us with so much wisdom. I see all of my friends coming in. Welcome, welcome.
Oh, it's great to see everybody.
Go ahead and tell somebody. Let them know. Hey, Ryan Frank is on tonight. It's the third Tuesday of the month. Get your, I shouldn't say butts, get your tootie patooties in there. That's the nice way children's ministry.
Yes.
On here. But I have to share, you guys, as we are talking this evening, we're talking about the importance of children's ministry. And Ryan, I have to share with you, and I'm going to just confess to my amazing friends this evening as you are watching. Maybe you are watching this later, but I have to share with you the start to Ryan and I's friendship, which is really funny to me. And kind of embarrassing.
Back in kindergarten, wasn't it?
So listen, if you are if you are listening to anyone who declares himself as a self-proclaimed expert and they act like they have it all together, let me tell you something, that they are lying. That there was a once upon a time when they did not have it all together, and they probably do not have. I was just telling Ryan, my life is like beautiful chaos. They're probably still struggling to have it together. So I am fresh out of seminary. I graduate, and I'm, of course, when you go to seminary, you are immediately ready to go into children's ministry. That is a joke. And if you went to seminary, you know that you are not ready to go into children's ministry, but that's what I did. And I remember my pastor, he gave me this amazing book.
Did he really?
To read 9 things they didn't teach me in college about children's ministry. And I read this book. I loved it. It was by some guy named Ryan Frank, who I did not know at the time. And I'm like, oh, this is so good. So I'm like buying all of Ryan's books after this, right? I'm reading them on planes, when I'm on flights, and just everywhere. And fast forward, God has such an incredible sense of humor. I end up getting into children's ministry training myself. And a good friend of mine, he says to me, you guys listen, he says to me, you need to reach out to Ryan Frank. He loves children's ministry. You love children's ministry. And I tell him, you're crazy. He's going to think I'm crazy. And I am not reaching out to him. No way. So my friend's getting on me like, oh my goodness, you're crazy. You're so good at what you do. You guys need to connect. And I'm like freaking out. So then he basically challenges me. And if you guys know me, I do not like losing challenges. So I'm like, fine. I'm going to write up this message and I'm going to send it to the Ryan Frank on Saturday morning. I have the dates and everything. I draft it out. I get my husband's help because I'm like, hey, help me write this email that's going to introduce to Ryan that I am a weirdo.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
And I am praying one day. I'm praying to God, and I'm like, he knows, the Lord knows. I am on edge about this. I'm like, oh my goodness, this man is going to think I'm crazy. And I'm like, you know what, Lord, I'm going to give this to you. I'm like, how about you make Ryan reach out to me first? So I'm that immature. So I decided to put it on God, instead of just doing this very simple task. And I'm sending this message on Saturday. Friday, I get up and I have a message from Ryan Frank.
Isn't that crazy?
Hey, before Ryan, I am sending you the message. I have a message from you. This is, hey, I think we should get to know each other. And my husband almost spit out his coffee.
Isn't that crazy?
It was so crazy. And I'm like, oh my goodness, God, you're so faithful. And since then, we've been friends ever since, right?
We
right,
have.
Ryan?
We have. I love God's stories like that. Yeah.
It is. It was just so amazing. But Ryan, I just have to commend you. I'm so excited. MegaCon is coming up so soon. It is like rapid speed. We're going to blink and all of us are going to be together.
It's going to be there. Well, Esther, you have
not here. Like if listen, you guys, we're going to talk about MegaCon, but I want to say about Ryan. Ryan is such a dynamic leader. And I mean, he leads everything. I mean, if you need a soda, go to Ryan. If you need insurance, go to Ryan. He leads everything. But he is definitely a phenomenal leader in children's ministry. And Ryan, I'm just so grateful to you for just showing yourself to be such a strong, independent leader as we are coming out of a season with just political mudslinging and racial unrest. You have shown yourself to just be such a support system. It wasn't like you picked this side over this side or this side over this side. With you, it was literally Jesus, period. And I am so grateful for that. I saw that. I know other people across the country saw that. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you for your boldness and speaking about things that would horrify the average children's ministry leader and just going there and as a result that providing healing for others who so desperately needed it. I mean, it was just so incredible. So I thank you. I honor you. I'm so excited that you're here tonight to share with us this evening.
Well, thank you. Those were very kind words. Thank you, Esther. You know, I have a ton of respect for you, and I sense an anointing on you, and you are a rising voice in children's ministry, and you become a good friend, a great part of our ministry. I mean, you are, it's crazy how our friendship just evolved so quick. And next thing you knew, we were doing things together, and you're on our faculty at Kidman Academy. You're on our main stage at MegaCon last year. You're coming back on the main stage again this year. We get together on webinars and trainings like this through the year. Yeah, it's crazy. So thank you for what you do as well. You are definitely, we need more voices like yours, just encouraging this wonderful community of people.
I hear. So they say that Jim Wideman is like the godfather of like children's ministry training or whatever. Jim told me the last time I talked to him that if I live long enough, that I will be considered the Queen Mother.
You know what? That's something to live for, to look forward to.
Forever.
Yes, exactly.
It's an easy title to get. Just get old and never leave. I'm excited that you guys are here tonight. Looking forward to this conversation. Oh my goodness, we have West Africa in the house. Welcome. We are so excited that you are here. We know we get people all over the country here, and we are so excited. We want to welcome you. We know that it is probably crazy o'clock in West Africa.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Yes, thank you. She says I have a new name. So I'm excited, Ryan, in the rare event that there is someone who's watching who does not know who the Ryan Frank is. Share with us just a quick snippet of who you are, what you're into. Like I said, you guys, if you need insurance, a creative soda, a children's ministry resources, he's probably going to come out with Ryan Frank designs. Submit your
Well, first and foremost, Beth and I have 3 beautiful girls at home. We have a 17-year-old named Lucy who has special needs. She'll probably she will always live with us. She's just a joy in our life. We have a 12-year-old named London who has started her first year of middle school this week. Just found out today that she made the 7th grade volleyball team, so she's pretty excited about that. Then we have an 8-year-old daughter as well. So 3 girls. We just got a new puppy 2 weeks ago.
Oh my God.
Our 15-year-old dog died a couple months back, and we were ready for another one. It's good for Lucy. Our girls love dogs, and so we have a 10-week-old Pouchon that we are having fun playing with, and we're also pulling our hair out trying to train this dog and get him to pee outside and all the things you got to work with puppies on. But it's good. So we got a great family. Yeah. And then Esther, I went to seminary. I was on staff at the church where I grew up at. In fact, we still go there. My father-in-law has pastored the church for 40, not quite 40 years, but almost 40 years. He's been the pastor at the church. And I served on staff with him for 15 of those years as the children's pastor and, multiple other things. And then most of you know us for our work at Kids Matter. So we have been publishing Kids Matter magazine now for 15 years and kidsmatter.com and Kidman Academy that a lot of you, I'm sure, are familiar with. Maybe you graduated from MegaCon that we were talking about earlier. And then we also have some businesses that we do that really allow us to do our ministry without having the stress of getting paid from it and stuff. So we have a car wash called Lucy's Car Wash and Drive-Through, and Lucy's will be at MegaCon serving up some gourmet sodas. You got to enjoy those if you were at MegaCon last year. I'm also a partner in a real estate company, so we have several hundred apartment complexes in kind of north central Indiana. And then, as Esther said, we just launched an insurance agency at the beginning of the calendar year. So we have people that are in our agency. We have 3 agents in Texas that sell for us. We have 7 agents in Indianapolis that sell for us, and we are getting ready to open up an agency in the state of Oklahoma, Lord willing,
Wow.
this fall. So the insurance company is growing. And yeah, I love it. Beth and I are both entrepreneurs, and we love building teams and just pouring our lives into people. And at the end of the day, as much as we love sales and marketing and business, both Beth and I both have pastors' hearts. And so we love pastoring people. We love pastoring pastors. Like I'm sure so many of you that are online, you're a ministry person. We love shepherding ministry people and just encouraging them in what they're doing day after day, week after week, because we know ministry is tough. And it's so any way we can encourage people in what they're doing, we love doing.
Ryan, let's go into that. Let's go into that, because I mean, we're talking about the importance of children's ministry training today. All right. And this is right before we are jumping into Kids Matter MegaCon season. Super excited about that. But let's go back into that a little bit, because you are, oh my goodness, you and Beth, are the founders and CEO of Kids Matter. You provide all of these incredible children's ministry resources constantly. You spearhead one of the leading children's ministry conferences that are going on. Obviously, it is clear that you care about children's ministry training. And I just want to want you to go back a little bit and kind of share with us, what was your motivation when you were starting this? What was the motivation of the Ryan? I remember I saw this super old YouTube video. You're doing this Bible story. I think of it like Elijah.
That's awesome.
The fire, throw the water on the fire, and they have all this water on the wood. But what was that initial motivation? Because I feel like for CEOs and founders, at times, over time, they can kind of get a bad rap, because you kind of get in the background. So you kind of almost move more into the business side of it in the background, and people can say, "Oh, okay, they're doing this for this," but there was a vision and a heart and a passion that this is founded on. Share with us what motivated you to kind of start all of this.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we were on staff at my father-in-law's church doing children's ministry, and a mid-sized church at the time. The church was probably had 400 or 500 people that came on Sunday mornings. If you're on staff at a church that size, you often wear multiple hats. And so we were doing children's ministry, but then also at various times doing the college ministry or senior adults or bus ministry or whatever. And loved the church. And we started getting requests from other pastor friends in the area saying, "Ryan, would you come and train our Sunday school teachers? Would you come and speak to our children's church workers?" And so I started doing these Saturday trainings, just really with some pastor friends, maybe 4 or 5 or 6 of them a year. And as I was doing this training, I would mention links a lot of times, like, "Hey, here's a link you need to go to," or a link. And I wanted to create a website where people could go to find the links that I mentioned in my training. And of course, all these trainings happen within an hour or 2 drive of our home in Indiana. So we got kidsmatter.com, wanted to get it with an S, but you couldn't get it with an S. So we went with the Z. Somebody told me 6 months ago the Kids Matter with an S was for sale, and I checked into it, and they want $35,000 or something stupid. So we're just going to stick with Kids Matter with a Z. So we built kidsmatter.com really as a place to house links that I would mention in this training. And then the entrepreneur in me then started thinking, as I kept doing these training events, why am I having people go to the website and to click this link to go buy a puppet over here, or click this link to buy this book over here? We should just create an online store with the resources that I'm talking about in my Saturday seminar. so they used to be called SOS events. So seminar on Saturday. So the whole website was built around these SOS events. So then we built a small online store, and then
Wow.
Then it just kind of snowballed. Then churches started asking about the curriculum that we were writing and using at our church. And so Kids Matter really launched, like our brand, if you want to say, like outside of Sweetser, Indiana, and our church and those seminars, launched with a curriculum that we wrote. At the time, it was called The Kitchen. So we no longer publish The Kitchen. There's so much good curriculum out there. We realized after a few years that we were losing all kinds of money on it, and it wasn't really a space we wanted to be in. But it kind of forced us, it gave us an opportunity to go to some of the national children's ministry events and make connections and meet people. And then a few years later, we decided to launch a magazine, which is a whole nother story that maybe we can share at another time. And really, even once we launched the magazine, Beth and I were both still very content with our ministry at that local church. But the ministry kept growing, and it really grew beyond our capacity to, we felt like the church is paying us a full-time salary so we can stay focused on what's happening here at this congregation and in this community. But we were hiring people to print this magazine. We were hiring people to run various parts of our ministry. And it just grew to the point where we decided we're going to go all in on Kids Matter, which was, it's been 12 or 13 years now. So it's been a while since we stepped off of church staff, as far as paid church staff, to focus on Kids Matter. And it's been neat just to see God bless the ministry. I tell a lot of times when I'm describing what the work of Kids Matter is, it's really 3 C's. So the first C is community. So I feel like a lot of what we do at Kids Matter is we create opportunities for community, for kids ministry leaders to connect with other kids ministry leaders, whether it's in our Facebook group or whether it's at our events or whatever. We really are big believers. I am this close to finishing my book that's going to release at MegaCon. All I have left to do is write the introduction for it. And it's all about how do you find community in this virtual world that we live in. So we're all connected to these things, and we have access to so many people, and we have hundreds of friends on Facebook. Yet researchers tell us that we're the loneliest generation ever, even though we're connected to everybody. So what's it really look like? So in the book, we look at, it's 10 chapters. We just look at the early church and how did they build community? What does that look like for us? So I'm a big believer in community, and in fostering community. So that's a lot of what we do at Kids Matter. The second C is connecting. So we foster community, then we do a lot of connecting. So especially as I think connecting, it's connecting resource providers, Christian colleges, publishers with children's ministry leaders. So we'll do that through our magazine. We do that at our event. You come to our event, and there's 85 different resource providers that have everything from puppets to worship DVDs to curriculum today. We'll come to your church and do an event. So we feel like that's part of our calling at Kids Matter, is connecting, reminding children's leaders, you're not alone. You may feel alone, but there are a lot of people out there that want to help you succeed in what you're doing. And then the final C is content. So we are a content ministry. So we are putting out content all of the time between MegaCon and KidMin Academy and our magazine, and we publish like 12 books a year. We are all the time pushing out content on social media. So we just want to resource people with content. And we are blessed, Esther, with a wonderful, wonderful team of people at Kids Matter that love the children's ministry community and have a heart to serve. And in fact, MegaCon is primarily run, the reason that Kids Matter MegaCon is the most affordable conference compared to other conferences of its type is because it's run by volunteers. So it's run by kids pastors, and we do it at a church to try to keep the costs down. So the entire event, we don't have any paid staff person that's responsible for MegaCon. It's all volunteer kids pastors that are.
And I love it because there's no lack in quality. Listen, you know me, I speak at conferences like
Mhm.
all over the country.
Yeah.
And listen to me, if you're watching today, and whether you are watching this later, if you are looking for a conference to come to, Kids Matter MegaCon, I am telling you, you will be filled. I remember, Ryan, going
Mm.
into the auditorium for
Yeah.
the first time. Do you remember this was like off of COVID? Like
Oh,
everything
yeah.
opened up again, and like the Holy Spirit like smacked me in the face. I
Wow.
kind of thought it was a little rude, but that's what
Hey, you know what? There is,
it like smacked me in the face, and I'm
yes.
like crying immediately. And I remember going up. We went kind of high up because I just kind
Yeah.
of like to be by myself, and I was kind of sitting
Yeah.
there. But to
Yeah.
just see all of those hungry I mean, thousands of hungry leaders
Oh,
were
hungry.
just desperate for God's spirit, desperate to be in community
Yeah.
together, desperate to grow and to learn together. If you're looking for an experience like that, if you're looking to make friends, if you're looking
Well,
to
that's true, isn't
build
it?
relationships, if you're looking, I mean, for any of that, I'm telling you, Kids Matter MegaCon, and you have it right there in Nashville. Who does not want to go to Nashville and just
Oh, well, that's it. So when we decided to do a conference, we knew we didn't want to do a convention center. Now we may end up having to do that at some point, but there's nothing wrong with doing it in a convention center. But we wanted to do it at a church. We wanted to do it at a good spirit-filled church. We're church people, and we like the feel of doing it at church. We wanted to have we want to do it in a city that is easily accessible to people. So they say, Esther, that 80% of the continental United States is within a 1-day drive of Nashville. So a lot of our people drive to
yeah,
MegaCon,
yeah,
and anymore with as crazy as the airlines are and as high as tickets are. One thing that we really appreciate about Nashville is it really is relatively
yeah,
easy to drive to, and you're like you said, it's a great city.
yeah.
It's so the food is great. It's got a great feel. Of course, so much history with country
Incredible.
music, and
Easy to drive to. We drive to it
yeah,
every year. I've been telling my
same
friend
here.
Marina, who is a children's pastor right now, I'm like, listen, girl, you have to get in the car and come to Kids Matter MegaCon with
Wow,
me. I'm still pulling her leg. I'm working on that.
get her there. And
Right.
I would say this too, Esther, real quick on MegaCon. If you've never been there, you'd like to come, and finances are a problem. We have never. This is really a lot of the heart of what we do with Kidman Academy and with MegaCon. We have never told anybody no. So if you email us, if you reach out to me and you say, Ryan, I really feel like God wants me to MegaCon, but the finances aren't there, we will give you a ticket. If you feel like this fall you need to be in Kidman Academy, but it's been a rough year because your husband got laid off, we will give you an enrollment to Kidman Academy. We're givers, and we know that God blesses generosity. And so don't let money keep you from MegaCon is my point. If you really need a ticket, don't be ashamed or afraid to ask.
And
I
Ryan,
promise you'll be glad.
we have people all over the country. We have Bangladesh right
Oh my,
now in the house
really?
watching. And I know Pastor James, I know you are from Bangladesh. Listen, Ryan is a giver, okay? So I will get you here, and then Ryan will get you. He will get you the rest of the way, okay?
There you go. And we love to do that for international friends. I know it's not always easy to travel. You're right. If you're internationally, or if you're out of the United States, but if you can get here, yeah, we'll give you a ticket. And we'll try
Yeah,
to.
absolutely.
Yeah,
So Ryan,
definitely.
okay, so
Yes.
we are talking about children's ministry training. So I want to ask you a question, okay? What do
Yep.
you consider to be the greatest challenge in your experience? You've been doing this for a long time. What do you
Yep.
consider to be the greatest challenge or barrier to people actually getting effective children's ministry training?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's twofold. I think it can be, where do I get that training? That's part one, and then part
Yeah,
two, where do I find the time? So,
yeah,
um, where do you find it? I mean, it's for some of us that we live in this world of resourcing, and we know it's like we know everybody who's doing everything. It's easy for us to be like, oh, you need training on this. Well, you go here, here, here,
yeah,
here. But for so many people that are in the trenches, it's like, where do I even go to get help with this?
yeah,
Um, family that showed up that they have a child with special needs and we're not ready for them, or my pastor has all of a sudden decided and announced that we're going to go have a third service and I'm having a hard time staffing 2 services. Where do I go to get help?
Yeah.
Or, I feel all alone and I need help.
Mhm.
So I think that's part of it, is where do I go? And I would say on that, and we might get more into the nuts and bolts of where to go for training.
Yeah.
But boy, if you can latch on to somebody, like if you're watching this either live with us or later, latch on to somebody like Esther that is doing this every month and not only providing these free resources and trainings, but then Esther, you've got this Esther on Demand, right? That launched several.
Really say it right, Ryan. Esther on Demand.
Right, it is Esther on Demand, right?
It is.
Okay, good. But that's it. You need to find some money to just be a part of that, and we'll talk more about that in a little bit. But this is why I like this Facebook group that this is playing on, or the I Love KidMin Facebook community, is a great place, because you can go and, hey, we had a family show up and they have a child that is dealing with this and I don't know what to do. There is a wealth of mentorship and help available, or somebody can point you in the right direction in this virtual world that we live in. And then I think the second part, and probably even the most difficult, is just where do I find the time? Because we are so busy. We're all so crazy busy trying to keep, we've got a job, and then we've got this church thing, and we've got our kids, and we've got a million plates that we're trying to spin. And one thing that God is showing me is that I'm never going to have time for anything. So I've got to make time for the things that are important to me. So, I'm getting old now. So I just had my 47th birthday, and I'm to the age where, yes, I've got to start. I'm starting to have these annual checkups with the doctor and doing blood work. And I just want to check everything out and order the most expensive blood work I can order, just because I want everything to get checked out. And I discovered probably 3 or 4 or 5 months ago that my cholesterol was high. And it wasn't just high, my cholesterol was really, really high. It's amazing when I found out that my cholesterol was high, that I found time to do something about it. So I have found time to eat healthier, and I found time to exercise a little bit more, because that was important to me. And normally when something is important to me, I'll make time for it. So, and you'll do the same. So you and I each have to get to the point where staying trained and staying relevant becomes a priority to us. So, because we're all too busy. So it's not a matter of, do I have time or not, or am I busy? It's, what are my priorities? And am I going to prioritize being on events like this? Am I going to prioritize coming to an event like MegaCon, or finding a podcast, or joining a Facebook group, and then spending some time actually engaging in conversations in that Facebook group? And once you prioritize it, you'll find time for it. Here's what you'll do. You'll either find time, Esther, or you'll find an excuse, one or the other. So you either find time, or, I just don't have time because blah, 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 blah.
So Ryan, I'm going to throw a curveball at you, because I want to know that literally this happened to me.
Yes.
A phenomenal leader just sent me this message, like in the past week. Hey, please be praying for me. I am praying that my senior leadership understands how important children's ministry training is. And I really want to go to Kids Matter MegaCon this year. And I need to push for this with them and explain to them how important this is. So what would you say to the person who is in that situation? Well, maybe they are in an environment, a work environment in the church, where they're not there in terms of children's ministry training. Like, okay, like, and they know that they need this. What would you say to encourage them? What can they do on the sidelines in the meantime to make sure that they kind of?
There are a lot of people in similar boats to that. So I would first and foremost remember, don't take it personally. And that's hard not to do. And I get it. I have sat in so many of those staff meetings. It's hard not to take it personally. So if your pastor says no to that, and I had somebody email me this morning that had won 5 tickets to MegaCon. She was pumped, and her pastor wouldn't approve the travel budget. And all it was really gas money and an Airbnb. And she's broken heart about it. And so I encourage her, first of all, don't take it personally. It may feel personal, but it's not personal. More than likely, it's not personal. Second, if you're really going to make an appeal to your pastor, or you're going to make an appeal to anybody in the marketplace or at a 9-to-5 job or at the church or anywhere, you've got to put yourself in the shoes of your leader. So I would try to think through, okay, I'm going to put myself in my pastor's shoes. What is my pastor thinking? What questions is he going to have? How does he process things? For example, my pastor, who's my father-in-law, he is very analytical. So he likes to think about things. He doesn't like to make decisions at the spur of a moment. He's an analytical, a thinker type, where my personality is more ready, fire, aim. You just make decisions and figure it out as you go. And I had to learn with him that, especially on big decisions, I could not go into his office and say, Pastor, I really want to spend $2,000 on this, and I need your approval today. He needed time to think about this and process it and analyze it, because it was his learning style. So he would want to think through, what are the pros? What are the cons? What are the repercussions if we do this? What are the repercussions if we do that? So think through your pastor's learning style and through the way he processes things. And then also, hey, think through how can I position this that my pastor is going to see that this is really going to strengthen his vision and help him where he sees the ministry going. So, Pastor, I'm thinking, I really would love to go to this event. I know it's going to be a week off work, or, I know it's going to take budget money that maybe the church has never spent before, or budget money that's been froze since COVID-19. But here's the thing, Pastor, you've been talking about the fact that we need to be more intentional about engaging this community. Or you look at the talking points. What's your pastor been passionate about over the last several months? And a lot of times you don't pick that up in staff meeting. You pick that up by listening to his sermons or his messages, because it's in those messages where your pastor is really communicating where his heart is and so on. So you got to listen to these messages of your pastor. Whether you want to try to get him to get you to MegaCon or not, you should be listening to those every week anyway, just to stay in touch with his vision. But Pastor, I know you've been talking about the fact that we need to be more intentional about this, or you want to do this, or you want to see the ministry strengthened here, or you want to more families. I really feel like if I go to this event, or if so-and-so and I go to the event, it's going to really help us, because we're going to learn A, B, C, and D. And I'm hoping as a result that we can come back and together we can figure out A, B, C, D. So it's not an easy answer, but I think if you slow down and think through, how does my pastor make decisions? What's his process for making decisions? And I want to be mindful of that and be smart about that. And then how can I connect the dots of what I'm wanting to do, whether it's build a playground and outside, or whether it's remodel the children's church room, or whether it's go to a conference. How can I position this ask in a way that it is going to align with his vision and what he's passionate about right now? And he'll be able to connect the dots in his head and not see it as a distraction or something that maybe isn't important right now.
Right. I love that, because I think that's so important, because I think that we're quick. I think as children's ministry leaders, we can be super quick to kind of be like, you know what, if our senior leadership says things that we don't like, or in contrary to what we want, we are quick to say, once again, we are on the island all by ourselves. Our senior pastor does not care about the children's ministry, which quite often I'm a firm believer that couldn't be further from the truth. But just this idea of when you understand, because this is something we teach, right, in children's ministry,
Yep.
understanding the kids' learning styles. It is rare that we talk about, let's talk about understanding our senior leadership's learning styles.
Well, that's it, isn't it? That's it. Exactly. And you've got to, here's just something practical I've learned. If I need to earn, I'm trying to think how I want to say this, earn my spot at the table. So you've got a spot around the table because you're a leader. You've got a chair, but to really earn his respect and attention, you've got to show up. You've got to be more interested in just your children's ministry and just your job description. Yep. Listen, if your pastor is dealing with a problem right now, it is totally by the way, let's rewind a little bit more. We were talking about Jim Weidman earlier. I heard Jim say this several years ago, that his number one job is solving his pastor's problems. It's not being the children's pastor. It's not being the youth pastor. It's solving his pastor's problems. So if you can help your pastor solve his or her problems, even if it's something totally unrelated to children's ministry, what you do is you gain so much credibility with your pastor. And you all of a sudden now, he really sees you as a valuable part of his team, because you're not just over here doing the important work of children's ministry, but you are helping him with the church as a whole. And remember, a lot of times as KidMin leaders, we can be tunnel visioned with our kids ministry, where your pastor has responsibility over everything, and he's seeing the peripheral of all these ministries. So earn some credibility with your pastor by showing up, paying attention. Don't check out when the discussion is about the choir or about the senior adult lunch and coming up in 2 weeks. Be actively engaged in those conversations. And then when it's your turn to talk about something that's passionate to you, I promise you.
Guess who's listening?
You'll have a lot more attention. Exactly. That's true. Yeah.
Okay, I love it. Okay, so I say y'all now because Guy moved me to Alabama. This is all his fault. But y'all just got some gold right now with what Brian Frank just said. Listen to me, you guys. It is so important. I know that we are in children's ministry. I know some of us are on staff. Some of us are paid. Some of us are not paid. But just because you are a part of the team does not mean that you are invited to the table. You could be sitting at the table and not be invited to the table. You want to become a respected voice at the table. Listen to your pastor. Learn his style, his processes that he takes when it comes to thinking things out is so important. You just said a whole nother conversation that we need to have on here when it comes to children's ministry, because Ryan, you're so right. We are not alone. We are not on the island.
We're not alone. We're not
by ourselves. It is the enemy loves to make children's ministry leaders feel that way and think like that, but it is so just so not true. So Ryan, I want to ask you, because for the leader who's watching today, they were like, okay, you're talking about children's ministry training. That's awesome. My friend told me to watch this. And I'm good. I'm good. I've been working with kids for years. Talk to us on just the importance of children's ministry training, and really, I really wanted us when it comes to this, I want to speak to when it comes to specialized training, like why, and I really thought about that when I thought about special needs. And I'll say this because I'm in children's ministry, and we have kids who come into our spaces. I was just talking to my friend Maria the other day, and she's like, who can we talk to really help equip us when it comes to these kids who are coming in, who are just as whole. They're just as whole as the other kids, but they just have different struggles in different areas, and we want to effectively reach them. How can we be trained? I'm thinking of training like that, kids who struggle with emotional or anxiety conditions. How important is specialized training? Is it like kids are just kids, and if you work with kids, then you're good with every kid? How important is training?
I think, that's a good point. I think there are some basics. that can cover so many kids. But I think not all kids are the same. So yeah, it's yes and no. It's both. I don't think it's either or. I think it's both and. So yeah, there are some general things about kids that are true. They all want to be loved. They all want to be accepted. They all want to have fun, that kind of stuff. But no two kids are the same. So you're right. Their homes are different. Their interests are different. Their learning abilities are different. Their needs are different. And the more specialized you get and the more training you get, the more effective you're going to be. If you look at how Jesus connected with people and how he taught, he didn't just teach one way to one, he communicated different to different groups of people. So when you look at how he talked to the Pharisees and the religious leaders, he often would ask questions. And his questions were so powerful. Then then there were times where he was just straight up and to the point, like the woman at the well. If you remember that, where she was like, "Oh, I don't have a husband or whatever," and he's like, "Yeah, that's right. You've had 5 husbands or whatever the story is." And he was just straight up with her and just very, very pointed. And then there were times where he was more soft and caring. And I think of the woman that was caught in the act of adultery and everything that was going on in her heart and the humiliation of that and the fear of that. And remember, Jesus gets down on the ground and writes with his finger. And Esther, that's going to be one of my first questions when I get to heaven is, Jesus, what did you write in the sand that day? Because the Bible says, starting with the oldest, they walked away. And then very gently, he looks around and he says, "Woman, where are your accusers?" Right? In this tender-hearted, caring way. He says, "I don't accuse you either. Go and sin no more." Right? And then there were times where Jesus was talking to groups of people and he would share stories and he would share parables. And then there were times, thinking of where he stood toward the end of his life, he stood before the chief priests and the elders and even Pilate. And how did he speak? He didn't say anything, right? So he spoke with this silence. So point being, when you study the teaching style of Jesus and the way Jesus communicated with people, he communicated different ways depending on who he was talking to in the context. And I think we can learn a lot from that. We need to be trained. You can have been trained 20 years ago or last year, but you know what? These kids are changing. The world of kids are changing. The tools at our disposal are changing. The things that these kids are wrestling with are changing. Our 8 and 9-year-olds are being forced to grow up way, way, way too early. And
I love how you say that, because I am literally finding myself having to have conversations with my new 8-year-old. To me, he's still 7.
That's
but
it.
Literally having to have conversations that I never thought that I would have to talk about, because he is actively seeing things in the world and he has questions. And I'm like, the world is going to teach him anyway. The world is going to tell him that this is okay, this is okay, this is okay. Wow, I did not have to. My dad and my mom did not have to have these conversations with me when I was that age.
That's it.
But what they're facing,
I hate it that these kids can't just be kids. You're right, that they're being forced to grow up so quick. But it is the reality of the world we live in. So yeah, it's important. Get specialized training. There are so many great resources to help you in so many areas. Don't be overwhelmed by it. Don't be scared of it. Just don't think I'm too old to learn. You can learn. Just ask God, show me new things. I want to give me a greater love for kids. Give me more wisdom on how to help these kids, pick people's brains.
Right. Like in a season, I mean, we had, I've had, I'm going to say now several kids, who kind of come into a space and they are literally in transition. Their parents are supporting this truth, and this is
Yeah.
kind of where they're going with this. And this is a whole new world of things that we are like, what I'm not gonna lie to you. Like immediately, if you're not on the same page, if you're not getting trained on the taboo topics of the day, and what's going on, and where your church stands with this, and
Yeah.
how to preserve the dignity, yet stand on whatever your church stands, and you're not trained on that with these newer generations that are coming
Oh
up,
my.
you are going to have some problems. So I agree with you, Brian. It is
That's true.
so important and horrifying. I had someone, she sent me a message the other day, and I'm so going to respond to my dear friend. It's so funny because I don't know if she's gonna end up watching this. It's like, yeah, you never sent me a message back. I'm like, this is a loaded question.
Oh my.
She's
Yes.
kind of asking about some of those issues and some of the things that she's facing, because she is looking for training on how do we deal with this?
Mhm.
How do we do? These are things that we did not have to deal with. So training, specialized training,
Very important.
it's super important. Ryan, what are the telltale signs for you of, and I know you've seen it in all these years of,
Yeah.
and absolutely, you're like, oh my goodness, this person is not trained. They need some training. What are some telltale signs for you?
I mean, telltale. Yeah, the room's out of control. You know that the kids are crazy, bouncing off the walls. You know that we all have that with people that dear-hearted people, but you know what? They just lack training. So the kids are out of control. Not, by the way, 90%. I've taught this for years and years, and I still stand by it. Always will make a handful of people upset. 90% of discipline problems are the fault of the person in charge. I'm convinced of it. Not 100%, but 90% of discipline problems are my fault as a person.
Thanks a lot, Ryan. I feel better because you said not 100. So 10%.
Not 100. Well, you know, it's crazy how sometimes you've been in kids ministry long enough. You know, the weather can affect the way they act. I mean, it's crazy on a dark, rainy day.
Yeah.
The weather will affect it. The heat and air at the church is off and the room's warm, and all of a sudden, but you know,
I think that we don't listen to kids as much as we should be listening to kids. I'm just gonna be honest with you. I think that we get frustrated when we see kids talking or when we see kids checking out. But for me, I'm like, okay, this is a red flag. They're talking because they're not engaged. They're checking out because there's an issue with my lesson or something's going on.
Exactly
so instead of trying to correct their behavior, maybe it's something in me that I need to correct the next time that I come to them. But we're old people, we're grown-ups. We would never admit that we have a problem.
No, but you know what? If everybody would realize that, but that's true. It's easier to just get up frustrated and say these kids won't listen instead of really looking at, am I boring? Which is another sign is that I'm boring. My lessons are boring. I'm doing the same thing every week. Now you can be the best ventriloquist in the world. You can be the best storyteller in the world. You can have the best skits in the world. But if you can be the best magician in the world. But if you do magic tricks every single Sunday, the kids are going to get bored by it. If you do a puppet show every single Sunday to visualize your lesson, I don't care how long you practice that puppet show and how good you are, the kids are going to be bored with it. Yeah. So if the kids are bored, if the room's out of control, if I'm not doing anything new, and I would say another sign is,
oh man,
that's it. Yeah. Another sign I would say is if I'm feeling burnout, you know, because normally if you're a leader, if one of your leaders come to you and say, I'm feeling burnout, or if you as the leader are feeling burnout, normally what that means is that there's a need in my life that's not being met. Now, that 4th and 5th grade Sunday school teacher might say, I'm feeling burnout. I've been doing this for 5 years. I need a break. They might think that it's because they've been doing it 4 or 5 years and they need a break, so they're burning out. Really, what's probably going on is there's a need in their life that's not being met. There's something going on. Maybe the their walk with the Lord's not what it should be. Maybe they're sick. Maybe they're taking care of their mom who's elderly and it's stressing them out, or there's tension with their teenage son at home, some kind of a need in their life. So a lot of times, if I, as a leader, am feeling burnt out, it could be that there is some need in my life that's not being met. And I serve myself well by figuring out what that is. And a lot of times, this is why I love, not to bring it back to MegaCon, but an event like MegaCon really is where you get all this training. You do get worship and all that, but this training, it's a shot in the arm for another year of ministry. This is one way I describe MegaCon: a shot in the arm for a year of ministry. Come back the next year, get another shot in the arm for another year of ministry. Because when you get that training, you realize you're not alone. You get all these fresh ideas. All of a sudden, you get into bounce in your step. You get wind behind your sail, and you're ready to go conquer the world. But when you're just stuck doing the same old week after week, you're going to start feeling burnout.
Yeah. Brian, tell us, because I know that we're talking about children's ministry training, and I really want to encourage people, because when I didn't know. Sometimes you do not know what you do not know. And we begin to operate off of this system of guessing, or and I'll be honest with you, I would hide behind the Bible. God has given me wisdom. You know, He has given me people. He has blessed other people with wisdom and with resources to help me. There were times because I didn't know what I didn't know, I would hide behind the Bible and say, "Oh, well, the Lord is going to help me to kind of get through this." Share with us, is there a testimony? What is your favorite story that you've heard? Because I know you do. I mean, Kids Matter offers everything. I mean, you got Kidman Academy. There are plenty of opportunities to grow in the skill of children's ministry. So what's your favorite testimony that you've heard someone share because they've walked this journey of children's ministry training?
Yeah, great question. So two stories come to mind. One is, and this first story is probably 10 years old, but probably a month prior to Easter, we decided to do a training with our children's workers at the church on how to effectively present the gospel to kids. We knew Easter was coming up. We knew we were going to have a lot of visitors. And so we did a training around effectively presenting the gospel to kids. What kind of language do you use? Blah, 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 blah. Easter Sunday morning after church, one of the Sunday school teachers came up to me. She had only been doing it a couple of years. She wasn't real experienced. She came to the training. She was prayed up. She gave the gospel on Easter Sunday in that Sunday school class. And she said one of the girls in her class had tears rolling down her eyes during the lesson. After the lesson, she's a fifth grader. After the lesson, she gets her in the corner of the room and says, "Sweetie, I saw you were crying during the lesson. Is everything all right?" And she said, today's the first day I've ever heard that Jesus died for me.
Wow.
And so a couple lessons on that. One takeaway for me was, I would assume Easter Sunday during Sunday school, these kids have all heard the gospel. Never assume that every kid in your class has heard the gospel. And then also just I was so proud of that Sunday school teacher for being prayed up and giving the gospel effectively. And then a more fresh example is a couple named Mike and Amy who came to MegaCon for the first time the year prior to COVID. So whatever year that was, when we had to take a year off MegaCon because of COVID, but the year before. And they felt going into MegaCon, we really want to step up our game with preteens. It seems like we're losing so many of these 5th and 6th graders before they get into the youth group. And so Mike and Amy decided that they were going to come to MegaCon with the intent of getting every preteen breakout they could and connecting with preteen resource providers. And they did. They attended them. God gave them a fresh vision. They went back home, and I keep in touch with Mike and Amy in that preteen ministry. They launched a preteen ministry, and it has turned into one of their bright, shining spots in their church. So they went, they got trained, they caught a new vision. They didn't just catch the vision themselves, but they went back home and transferred that vision to their leaders. and the leaders got the vision, and now this part of their ministry that was ho-hum and kind of, they were losing these kids, has now become a shining spot where the kids are excited to be there and they're inviting their friends. Training is important. I read somewhere a few years back, and I forget the statistic. I have a bad memory with numbers, but how much money, you could Google it and figure it out. We probably need to be getting off here pretty soon, don't we? Or guys knocking on the door.
That's on the line with Australia. It's funny.
Okay, I like that mug. Nice coffee mug.
Oh wow! What
you can really nice.
Go to the Kids Matter MegaCon this year.
There you go. Yes. What was I saying? You remember? I just drew a blank.
Okay, you sharing your two stories, and you said there's one more thing.
Yeah, I don't remember it.
Well, you were sharing last words of encouragement when it comes to children's ministry training. You were sharing. So, and go ahead and go into that. Go into some last words of encouragement when it comes to children's ministry training for the person who is watching this evening, and they're like, okay.
So two things. Here are my two closing things, and we'll disconnect so Guy can get on his phone call tonight. Number one, and so I can get to bed. It's 9 o'clock. I'm getting old. It's about my bedtime. I got about 30 minutes and I need to be in bed.
47 is the new 37.
I don't know. Okay, we'll stick with it. Number one, don't overthink training. So think about where do I spend time already? So for so many of us, it might be this device right here. So if I'm already spending time on this device, find some YouTube videos like Esther has some great training videos. Find some kids ministry podcasts if you're already on your phone anyway. If you're on Facebook anyway, join some Facebook groups like I Love Kidmin Facebook group. Esther's got Esther on Demand. It all works on your device. If I'm already on spending time here, utilize this every week to get some more training. If you're a reader, hey, rotate your books. If you're one of these that you're always reading books, make sure that you've got a good mix coming into your books of some good Esther Moreno, Ryan Frank, Jim Weidman books. They're going to help you step up your game in ministry. So that would be my first closing thought, is just don't overthink it. Think about, what am I already doing and how can I improve my skills, week after week. Second, find a mentor and then be a mentor for someone else. So Dr. Howard Hendricks from Dallas Theological Seminary went home to be with the Lord a few years ago, but he would always teach that every person needs to have three people in your life. You need to have somebody that is ahead of you or before you that can serve as like a mentor, somebody that's walked down the road. I can pick your brain. I can ask you questions. I can learn from your experiences. Then you have somebody beside you to share your burden and that you can talk to and pray with. And then you need to have somebody behind you that you yourself are mentoring. Yeah. So I would encourage every one of you, find a mentor or several different mentors. And here's the thing about finding a mentor. You may not be able to, you probably don't live in Esther's town. You don't live in Converse, Indiana. If you lived in Converse, I'd be happy to buy you coffee and let's go talk. The reality is, we don't live in proximity to each other. But that doesn't mean that you can't learn from us. But then find some people in your area that you can learn from and just spend some time with them. Yeah. But then pay it forward. So be a mentor to someone else. Find a young person in the church, somebody or an older person in the church that's new in kids ministry. And you don't have to go up to them and say, I would like to be your mentor. Would you spend an hour with me? Just, hey, you know what? I'm so glad. I've noticed you've started serving in kids ministry back here. Yeah. And you know what? I've been back here for 10 years. Can't believe it. I've been back here for 10 years. But I'd love to buy you coffee sometime and just see if you've got any questions, share with you some things I've learned along the way, and just be that help for somebody else. Right. If you do that, if you'll have a mentor and if you will have some people beside you that you can pray with and have a mentee behind you, somebody that you're pouring into, you won't grow stagnant. Your life will be blessed.
Ryan, I'm looking to see when you're gonna get Catherine up at MegaCon. I mean, she is like #1 supporter. I'm just saying, I'm just gonna put it out there.
Now, Catherine, who?
I think Catherine Wagner. I think that.
Oh my word! Yes, Catherine Wagner from California.
We are going to get her at MegaCon.
Catherine Wagner is just, I don't know if she's online with us, but I've never met Catherine in person, although I've got to tell you, I feel like she's a friend because she's on all of my webinars. And
Catherine, her friend.
She just is such an encouragement to me, to Beth and I. Catherine, we always read all of your comments on our stuff, and it blesses us. And one thing about Catherine is Catherine's got some gray hair, but you know what? She's not stopping. She's looking for creative ways to serve kids and families. And she's not afraid to ask questions. She doesn't think she's got it all figured out. And Catherine, you may not think that you are influencing people and mentoring people, but I promise you are. You've got people that are watching looking at your pictures, reading the things that you're doing with those kids at those Bible studies and those after school events. And you are making a difference. The world needs more Catherine Wagners. I would take 100 Catherine Wagners in my church.
Hey, she says, still going strong. She says 65.
65. I love it. And a smile on her face.
Ryan, as we close out, it is 8:07, which is fine, because when you have the Ryan Frank, this is like having the Queen of England. So it's fine. But listen.
I don't want, I think your guy has a business call 7 minutes ago, and he's probably going to lose some client or something.
Always has a business call. So close us out. Oh my goodness, MegaCon is coming. Close us out. And what is happening at MegaCon? Oh my goodness, Guy and I are super excited. I'm trying to twist people's arms because I'm like, listen, you don't know what you are going to be missing out if you do not come to Kids Matter MegaCon this year. Let us know what's going on. Invite us. We are super excited. Hey, if you guys are going, if you guys are watching this later, please come up to me. My entire family, we are going to be there. We are super excited. Send me a private Facebook message and say, hey, I'm trying to get some type of dinner or something together to meet everybody. It is just such an incredible place to connect with like-minded people just like you. If you are looking to do that, oh my goodness, if you are looking to interact with the Holy Spirit, I'm going to invite you to Kids Matter MegaCon this year. You will get all of that. You will be rejuvenated. I'm not trying to take and do a commercial for Ryan Frank. I'm telling you, because I've been there for the past 3 years. There will be a fire that is reignited. Maybe you are in children's ministry and you're like, you know what? I'm burnt out. This is my year. I think I'm going to step down. I think I'm going to quit. I'm going to challenge you to go to Kids Matter MegaCon in Nashville in October. Look, and we're going to put the website. I'm going to make sure that the link and everything is there in this conversation so that you can see it, so that you can go to it. But I want to challenge you to come, to attend. Tell me that you've seen this. I will take you up to Ryan myself and take you to the green room so that you can and be rejuvenated. It is so important that we do this. I love the online thing. I think online is so important. It takes away all excuses from not being trained. You can come online, but I am telling you that being in community with people is never going to go away. We need that. You need to be with people who are like-minded, who are just like you, who are in this same war for the hearts and minds of children and families for Christ. If you want that, I'm telling you, get there, meet me there, meet Ryan there. But I'm gonna let Ryan close out and share his own commercial.
Yeah, that was so nice. Thank you. So a couple of the high points, and we'll wrap up. So 3 days in Nashville, Tennessee. Website is megacon2022.com. MEGACON, megacon2022.com. 6 general sessions with spirit-filled worship, main stage speakers. There's nothing like having, 2,400 people in a room, worship, like kids ministry people in a room worshiping. Our numbers are up, Esther. So we're going to have a record attendance. We're up like 400.
I was nervous. I went on stage and I was nervous. I was like,
oh, well,
people.
You did such a great job. But yeah, so we have 6 general sessions, great worship, over 200 breakout opportunities, specialized ministry training. So we give away so Beth and I buy a car every year and we get it to MegaCon, and so this year,
guys, a new car.
A car. So that's kind of a unique thing about our conference is this year it's going to be a 2022. We don't have it bought yet, but we're hoping to buy it in the next couple of weeks. A 2022 Mini Cooper. We'll drive it into the church foyer. We'll drive it into the auditorium. It's a blast. And one of you literally will leave with the keys and the title.
That I just feel like as a leader, I think one day I'm just going to have to come as an attendee so that I can apply to get the car.
I think you should. So that is such a blast, giving away a car every year. Over 85 different, or 80 to 85. I don't know if it's over 85. I know it's over 80 different resource providers that are there. And then we're doing some new things this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'd love to have you there. If, as we said earlier, if finances are in the way, please let us know and we'll help you get your tickets. But the website is megacon2022.com. Esther is going to be back for the 2nd year in a row. Such an amazing job.
This is the 3rd year. Listen, guys, I don't know how I'm making it the 3rd year in a row. I don't know what I did right. I think the 1st year I flossed on stage. So I think that's what did it.
This is the 3rd year in a row, isn't it?
3rd.
On the main stage.
That's because I mean, people want energy, you know what I'm saying, Ryan? And they, with the dance move, just kind of did it for me. I think that's what it was.
You're going to do it. It's going to be an amazing time.
It is. God's Spirit's going to be there. It's going to be incredible. I'm excited. Please. I'm telling you, if you're looking for a conference to attend this year, you have to attend a conference. I'm telling you, I will encourage you at least once a year to attend one. Meet me there. And it's so hard, Ryan, because I'm like, we got these families and you said it. I'm telling you said it because you are like centrally located to where we can literally just get in the car and make a trip. I don't know if you've heard my story about baggage handlers taking my things from my flight.
Yep.
You don't have to worry about that if you go to MegaCon because you can get in the car and just go and you have all your things. It's an amazing experience, but literally it is an amazing experience, and you will. I promise you will enjoy it. Go there. When you see people and you recognize them, don't just stare at them and go up the escalator. I am telling you, call their names, give them a hug.
That's true.
It is the friendliest people that you will meet on the planet. You will meet them at Kids Matter MegaCon. I am telling you, and you will leave feeling so full. Take advantage of every opportunity. Ryan, thank you so much for being with us. You even stayed with us overtime. You were so incredible.
I did. My contract said 60 minutes, so we're gonna have to talk about it. Contract.
Yep. It's so incredible. Oh my goodness.
Thank you for having me. And thank you for everything that you do, Esther. You're making a big difference.
Oh, Ryan, you're amazing. Thank you so much, you guys, for staying with us this evening. And we are going to get back in this chat box and we're going to dialogue with you more. Thank you to Tammy, who has my friend Tammy, who's kind of been in this box and she's been responding and putting things. She is so incredible and amazing. Tammy, we love you. We will see you. We're here every 3rd Tuesday of the month with incredible influencers in children's ministry. And it is just all about us growing together. We are not self-proclaimed experts. It is all about us just growing together and learning how to do children's ministry with a spirit of excellence. We will see you guys the next time. Have a great night, you guys.
Thank you.